Hello, welcome all of you to the Whit Family Podcast. I'm Brenton Whitaker, and this is my wife,
Abby. If we're being honest, we have never filmed a podcast before.
Not together.
Or recorded. Not together. You've done a few.
Done a couple.
But we just thought we'd come on here and share some of our crazy life with you. People have often said your family could make a good movie. We're not in the movie production business, but we thought a podcast could suffice.
It would definitely be a comedy show.
Yeah, I have a different four-letter word I would think of when I talk about show and our kids, but hey, let's be honest. This is our first take at it, and it's probably going to be the only take we get for this episode. The dog is in the kennel, the baby's in the bouncer, and the older 4 kids are at church. So this is what we're working with here.
So, if you can count, baby in the bouncer and 4 kids at church means we have a family of 5 kids, ranging in ages from 4 months to 11 years.
Our family was built through biological babies, adoption, and through foster care. So we are kind of a mixed bag, and we love it. There is never a dull moment over here, and we lead very busy lives.
Yep, so I'm a head football coach, and right now in Paris, Texas at North Lamar High School.
You just gave some serious detail in that, but that's
Was
okay.
I not supposed to?
It's
I mean,
fine.
I'm wearing the North Lamar football hat.
We're still new to this, so I'm not sure what you're supposed to share. We are unapologetically honest about our lives, so that is just what it is. I used to be a high school teacher. I taught high school math and Spanish for 11 years.
Yes,
11 years. And then I came home from the classroom a year and a half ago when our daughter started having some medical issues. And then I became a health coach so I could still contribute financially to the family, do something I'm passionate about, and be home to raise my babies. Because when you have 5 and you're married to a head football coach, there's a lot going on.
busy with a capital B.
Yeah. So when we were talking about we've been talking for a while about creating a podcast, and we've kind of been bouncing ideas back and forth. And hopefully that didn't just...
It didn't.
Okay.
We're good.
Do you want to tell them what we kind of settled on as sort of the basis for this podcast, or what we're going to be talking about over here?
Really, we're just going to talk about real life, coaching in Texas, being a coaching family and all that encompasses, and the craziness that is when you're a blended family in our way, being biological, foster, and adopted, and all the joys and challenges that brings and has brought over the years.
And still loving each other through it all, right? So just to give you, I guess Brenton gave you a little bit of background about our kiddos. We have been all over East Texas coaching, so we've moved several times dealing with that. Like I said, I am a health coach, so I work from home, and our kids are in school. The baby's home with me. Our son loves football. Actually, the 2 older sons really love football. Mm-hmm. The younger ones were kind of involved in baseball, one of them more than the other. And then my daughter is the only girl of the 5, and she is getting into gymnastics competitively. So she's...
And that is a world that neither one of us know anything about. So we're all trying to catch up and learn and figure out what all these terms are.
He was making fun of me for watching YouTube videos of Simone Biles last night, just trying to figure out what the events are and what you do. So no judgment. We'll probably share more about the life of a competitive gymnast in the family as that moves forward. So, but what I did for this podcast, Brenton was like, what do you want to talk about? Do you want to tell them where I got my questions for the podcast?
So she used ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. And what did you search?
I literally said, hey, ChatGPT, form 10 questions to use as an introductory podcast for faith, family, football, couples, whatever. And this is what it spit out to me. So we got some questions. How long is a podcast supposed to be?
As long as you want it to be.
Okay, cool. So I guess we'll just answer the questions and be done. All right. Eventually we'll have an introduction and get better at this, right?
Sure.
So... Funny side note, well, if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, we have a YouTube channel. If you're listening to it on one of the other methods, you might not know this, but we've had a YouTube channel for a couple of years kind of regarding our health journey, which I'm sure we'll talk about more at a different time. But when we look back at that first YouTube video that we sat down to film, it's pretty bad.
Not to say this is much better.
No, this is not. But I'm just saying, what I meant to say is I hope that as we progress, this will get better and better.
We'll see.
If you stick around. So, I guess we'll just alternate reading questions, and I think we're probably both supposed to answer. I don't know. How did you 2 meet, and what was your first impression of each other?
Okay, so we met November 26, 2006. Yes, give me applause.
The only reason he knows that is...
Because November 25th, 2006, we lost to Liberty Ilu in the quarterfinals our senior year of high school.
We all know where Coach's head is.
But
you remember the date. You remember the date. Okay. So I had one of my best friends in high school was talking about Brenton. I didn't know him at the time, and she was just going on and on about this guy, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's great. Why don't you date him? And she said, oh, I couldn't. He's my god brother. It's like we're family. I couldn't date him. And I said, well, then give him to me. And she did. So we went to help Janae move, and that is where we first laid eyes on each other.
Yep.
Do you remember what I was wearing?
You were wearing a blue, oh my gosh.
BFS.
Thank you. Blue BFS t-shirt. She was wearing jeans and cowboy boots.
And I probably had my hair up in a messy bun because if you can't tell, yeah. My first impression was, he had a cast on his hand.
I did, because I broke my wrist 4 weeks earlier.
Yeah, and we were kind of dorky back then. I mean, we were, 17, 18?
18.
And, so we've definitely known each other and been together for more than half our lives at this point. Well, almost. You're about to turn 35 next week.
Yep.
I beat him to that. He likes to call me a cougar.
I get a month and a half.
But we kind of instantly started dating from there. And this was not part of the question, but I knew 4 months into the relationship that I was going to marry this guy. And we proceeded to date. Mm-hmm. We went to college together. I played volleyball. He played football, small college in Nebraska. And then we got married. That's pretty much the story with that.
Yep.
Anything else you want to add to that one?
Nope. Number 2, when did you decide to start a family together? Well, that's actually kind of a funny story. So
I don't know if I would call it a
decision as much as
a happy surprise.
Yes.
So we got married June 11th, 2011, and I found I was pregnant September 6th, 2011.
Yes, we know how babies are made. It was we were given some false information.
Whatever, not even. Madly in love, and God had this planned all along. That's what we're going to say. So what's funny, though, what's the funniest part of this entire thing is telling my parents. So you should share that story. Oh, and telling your parents, because that's part of this, too.
Okay, so, we're in college. We're in Nebraska. I'm in my last semester of classes after we got married. So their parents
You were playing football still.
Yes.
You were a redshirt freshman.
No, senior.
You were a redshirt senior. You redshirted your freshman year.
Abby's younger brother was also on the team, so her parents were coming up to watch us play. My parents were supposed to come up and watch us play, and we were going to have this grand reveal at our house after the game. So the game goes on, and ends up my parents do not come up, and so we're like, well,
they called and said, sorry, we can't come, which was literally not their fault. They would have had to drive through the night because your mom was still coaching volleyball at the time, so she had a Friday night or Thursday night game.
Yep.
But I was so mad. I was inconsolable. I was like, now we're going to have to tell them over the phone and whatever. My parents arrive.
So our parents arrive. We go to the game. We come into the house after the game, and her...
we were barely in. My parents were still carrying the suitcases
Her dad had a suitcase in each hand and was standing in the doorway. And we said, okay, we're pregnant. And then he just froze. And I think the first thing he said was, I haven't even paid off the wedding yet.
Yeah, he said, I haven't even paid off the wedding yet, which was very legit. It was 2 months prior. But I was so scared to tell my parents that we were pregnant. I mean, you would have thought I was 16 and not married. But no, it was a whole thing. But they were super happy eventually. They love our firstborn son. He's the first grandchild on both sides. And so it was just a really special time. We quickly discovered, though, that being in Nebraska was far too away from our families if we were going to be young and newly married and a coaching family. So we quickly made our way back to the best state in the world.
That's right.
Okay. Can you share a little bit about your family dynamic and what it's like to be a family of 7?
Okay. Our family dynamic is it's just mass chaos, I feel like, because it's just go, go, go all the time. We have, myself being a head football coach, that keeps us very busy, and Abby lovingly keeps things rolling at the house. Without me a lot of times on the day-to-day stuff. I will say that's the benefit of being a head coach. I do get to set the schedule, so I allow myself to be home a lot more because I have young kids, and I obviously want to be there. Also, we have kids that are getting more and more involved, which causes more and more craziness as schedules go haywire. We also have a medical component with our daughter who battles some ongoing medical issues that I'm sure we'll get into at some point. And so it's just there's a lot of things going on all the time. And it feels like we just chase our own tail all the time, but we absolutely love it.
We love it. We wouldn't trade it any other way. we have one daughter, like we said, so the dynamic of 4 boys and 1 girl is just its own thing altogether, especially when Daddy's a football coach because she has a lot of big brothers. And then also just the dynamic of foster care and adoption. Like, our family was built in a non-traditional way. Throughout the years, we were foster parents for 5 years. So at one point, we had 6 kids in the home, and we've had, I think, a total of 10 kids? 9. 9 kids come through our home. He was the 10th. Yes. Or was the 10th. And so our family dynamic has changed, like, little by little as we've built. And, the babies that have left us, we never forget them. They're always a special place in our hearts. We still talk about them, look at pictures. And I would say our family dynamic has changed, too, since I moved home from the classroom. I often tell Brenton, I don't know how I ever held a full-time job in the classroom because it just feels like everything is so busy all the time. We do not go anywhere inconspicuously. No. That is for sure. We also live in a small town, so there's that piece of it. But we love it, and every person in our family, a member of our family, brings their own special joy to it, and we love having a big family. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, what else would you say about it? Lots of love to go around.
Yes, lots of love to go around.
Okay, do you want to hand me a little mister?
I will.
This is part of being a podcast with a parent, young family. We got a little helper that wants to come sit with us. So you guys can meet baby Briar. You hear Dad squealing. You say, hi, everybody. I say hello. Oh, he liked the light. He loves my ring light. All right, next question.
All right, where are we at? Number 4. What are some of the key strengths and qualities that you admire in your partner?
Oh.
You going first or me?
I can go first.
Okay.
I admire Brenton's positivity. Like, he is a glass half full kind of person. He always has been. And he always sees the best in other people. Like, he'll always give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I think that serves him really well, personally and professionally. I also love his leadership skills. He's just he's a good leader of me and our children, but also his staff. And he's an honest man, and he sleeps really well. Nothing can wake him up. Even the baby crying.
Not even a tornado.
True.
All right, for Abby, her type A personality is much needed and required to keep our family going and keep everything in order. And her ability to, well, hello, you smile at me. Her ability to keep everything moving in this household, it's amazing what she does on a day-to-day basis. And her level of conviction on things she's truly passionate about is admirable to me. I really love that because she lets nothing get in the way of what she truly believes, and that's in all facets. That's in faith. That's in her family beliefs. That's in her passion for anything that we're passionate about, and her desire to make people feel loved and admired. And she will go out of her way to make anybody else feel like they are important. And she tries to find little ways to make people feel important and feel loved. And I truly, truly admire that about her.
All right, let's see. As a football coach, how do you manage time and responsibilities to ensure that you're present for your family?
I spoke on this a little bit already. Being a head coach, it makes things a lot easier because I get to set the schedule. Something that we do is I don't work on Saturdays because there's a few people on our staff that have small children, and typically that's when your activities need to be. And, with technology the way it is nowadays, we kind of go in we start meeting at 2 on Sunday, and we're usually done by dinner. Usually I go in whenever church is over so I can get my little part of things done as the head coach. But I try to minimize the weekend responsibilities as much as you can while still allowing your team to grow and be productive and the best chance you can to be successful. Throughout a weekly schedule, it really is. It's not wasting time. It's trying to be as efficient as you can while getting the job done. But nothing drove me more crazy as an assistant coach as just sitting there waiting on somebody else to do something so that I could be told I was good to go home. I very much take the mantra of if your job is done, get out of here. Because I know we all have families and wives and children to go home to.
I think from a wife's perspective, there's a couple things I want to say on that. For one, he has a very family-friendly field house. Like just today, the baby and I were up there to give hugs and bring a sweet tea and wait until the boys got off the bus. And I think like just creating that culture, football is a long season, and it's a big sacrifice for the coaches and their families. And so for him to be able to create a family atmosphere where as a wife or as a child, you feel like you can go up there at any time, and that you're always welcome to come watch practice or see the boys, or it's just a very family-friendly environment. So I feel like that makes a huge difference, especially now with you as a head coach as compared to some, and we've been on some great staffs, so don't get me wrong. But and we've learned from seriously the best. Like some of our previous head coaches have taught this man a lot of what he knows. I will also say as a wife that he has his priorities straight. It's faith, family, football. And you hear those football coaches that like their wife gives birth and they're not there because it's a Friday night game. This man just took off a whole day a week ago to take me to get my back injection, and he's going to do it again next week. And so, I just think he has his priorities straight as far as that goes. And you've learned that over the years. Like that's been an evolving thing. And speaking of over the years, I was not always like this about it. I think early on in our marriage, the time of coaching was a huge, not issue, but point of contention maybe.
Yes, because if you don't know what you're getting into, you don't know what you're getting into. And
I sure don't.
For me, growing up, my mom was a volleyball coach for 30 years, so I knew what being a coach's family was. So it was normal for me, but for Abby it was not. So it was just like a big adjustment for her to kind of navigate and get used to. And
that's a funny story. So I'm working on writing kind of a little ebook for coaches' wives, and one of the stories I shared in that was I remember early on, we might have been married. We were just married, but maybe I was pregnant with our first, and I was like, and we're going to have family dinner every night at 6:30 at the table together. And I truly, in my head, thought that's how it was going to be because that's how it was when I was growing up. And your mom looked at me and she's like, oh, sweetheart, you have no idea, bless your heart. And it got me so mad at the time because I just knew that's how it was going to be. I don't think we ever have family dinner anymore, maybe on Saturdays. But, we find other ways to connect with our kids.
Definitely not at 6:30 at least,
Yeah. Hey, tonight, Wednesday nights are usually date night. Maybe they're podcast night now. So.
I guess so.
All right. Is it your turn or mine?
Your turn. Or my turn. Can you share a fun or heartwarming story that encapsulates the essence of your relationship?
So I don't have a fun story because this definitely was not a fun situation, but I do have a story that I think encapsulates the essence of our relationship.
Okay.
And that's just like being able to lean on each other. But so when I mentioned earlier that I knew like 4 months into the relationship that I wanted to marry him. So I was a 3-sport athlete in high school. I played volleyball was my main sport. That's what I went on to play in college. And then I also did basketball and softball. And I was not a good softball player, but it was something to do. I was like the pinch runner. Like that's how bad I was. But I was fast, right? I was, however, not, how would you say? When I played sports, it was all out. Yes. Like there was no like halfway. Like if I was going to dive on the floor after a ball, I was going to hit the floor. If I was going to slide into a base, I was going to slide into a base. And I slid into third base my senior year of high school. Brent was at the game. My parents were out of town. I don't know where they were, but they were not there. And I broke my ankle. And this man right here came out onto the field and carried me off like in his arms like a baby and drove me to the hospital, sat with me in the ER while they took x-rays and got me crutches and all wrapped up. Gave me my pain medicine, went to the pharmacy, gave me my pain medicine. I was high on that. And he went home and packed me for my senior trip, a ski trip that I was leaving for the next day. And I think that just like embodies like the essence of our relationship is like we've been through a lot in our marriage and our family. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that later. But one thing that I've always known is that he's going to be there for me no matter what. So.
I think I can top that.
You have to go with something lighter, something funny. Do you have a funny story? I don't know.
I got to think on it. Yeah, I got to think on that one.
Yeah, there's lots of funny things that happen. But usually they're not the essence of our relationship. They're other stuff. Okay, how does the family support and engage with the football team and its activities?
Let's see. Well, I mean, support. I mean, we live, breathe, eat, and sleep North Lamar football like, all the time. Sometimes it encompasses too much of our time. But like Abby said, having them around in the office, having my boys at practice, and to me, I think that's important because my players get to see a family dynamic that not all of them have the blessing to have at their homes. And so seeing what a relationship should look like, what a marital relationship should look like, what being a father looks like, what disciplining your children looks like, 'cause that happens in front of them too. All those things are showing them how this happens in a healthy way.
You kiss me in front of them, you hold my hand, you help me load the kids in the car. They get to see that.
Abby is I call her our behind the scenes PR person, because she does a lot of public relation work for us and getting stuff out. And she cooks breakfast for the boys every Friday morning. She comes up to the field house and has something there. What else do you do?
Well, I mean, we haven't missed it. Okay. By God's grace, I can count on one hand how many games I haven't been to in 12 years of coaching. Usually if we're in the hospital.
Yeah, it's always a medical issue.
It's usually a medical issue. Let's see. Last year we've done a really good job in previous years of doing Tuesday night team dinners at our house, or at least position group dinners. That has been a little more challenging this year, just with all the craziness, new baby and schedules, and the older kids being involved in sports and stuff. But we really just try to be engaged with the team, and I go to pep rallies. The kids, my older two sons are ball boys on the sideline.
Yep.
It truly, truly is, and I am like the loudest person at the game. I got my cowbell. They can hear it on the recording. But it truly is a family affair, and I honestly, and I hope I don't offend anyone when I say this, but like, I don't know how football coaches do it that don't have family support. Like, or where the wives aren't engaged and involved. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying
that's not our reality,
that's not our
we
reality.
don't know how that operates.
Yeah.
All the boys call Abby Mama Whit, and that's how I refer to her in and around the program, and it's really good.
We've just learned to embrace it. Like I said early on, that was not how I felt about it, but it was either like get on the bus or get off, and the most effective way for us to do this ministry is to do it as a family.
All right, how do you balance personal goals and aspirations with your goals as a couple? I think as long as decisions are made together, then I think you find a way. If you truly love your spouse, which we do, then you never enter a heavy decision with what do I get out of this mentality? How does this help me mentality? Because what you want to do as a spouse is you want I want Abby to be successful in what she does. I want Abby to be able to chase what she wants to do. And she wants the same for me. And so every big decision we make together. And we know that depending on the decision, and it definitely goes both ways throughout our marriage, is one of us might be taking, if you want to say, a step back or a back seat to the other at the time. But you don't do it out of remorse or regret. You do it because I know Abby wants to do this right now. She knows I want to do this right now. And so we are more than willing to do that for each other because we love each other.
Very true. One caveat to that would be moving to Paris, Texas.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
But I can confidently look back and say that was the best decision he ever made for our family.
So I've never applied for a job without getting Abby's permission first, ever.
We talk about everything, yeah.
And when I was approached about being interested in this job, I said yes to applying in pretty much.
And yes to an interview.
Getting an interview. And I called Abby and said, I'm applying for this job. I'm getting this interview. And the hard part was we already had contracts signed to go to a different
house
school.
that I was literally unloading a U-Haul for when he called me.
We had a house already rented. We had furniture already bought. We had clothes already moved.
It's okay.
And here we are.
Okay, look, this man does not ask for very much or tell me. Like, he doesn't just say a lot of things like this is happening. Usually it's a discussion. And this was probably one of the first big things in our marriage where he was like, we're moving to Paris. And I was like, Paris, what? But like I said, this place has been nothing but a blessing for our family. And gosh, we just couldn't be more thankful for getting to be here.
All right. What advice would you give to other couples looking to strengthen their relationship or building a lasting partnership? I think that goes into what the last answer was. As long as you're making decisions together, and as long as the decisions you're making is as long as you enter the mindset of I want to do what's best for the other one, then you can never be torn apart because you're making decisions together.
Yeah, just being selfless. I think like Brenton's dad said something early on in our marriage when we were dealing. Our first son was born significantly early, and we had a long NICU stay with him and health challenges. And I remember him saying, like, you're going to face hard. It's either going to tear you apart or bring you together. And I think by the grace of God, I mean, it is not us on our own at all, but like he has just continued to bless us and pour into us and strengthen our marriage. And we're closer now than we ever have been. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that doesn't mean there aren't like hard days or things that you disagree on or things that irritate you about each other, but it's a choice every day to just wake up and put your best foot forward in the marriage. And, you know, if I'm not able to give 100% that day, he picks up the slack and vice versa. And I think it's just, we've seen it play out in the lives of a lot of people that we've been around, just how important it is for your children that you have, you know, a healthy marriage. Mm-hmm. And so that's something that we strive for, and we're definitely not perfect at it. You know, there's definitely arguments, and but I think we can say we don't go to bed mad.
No, and I think that's one of the, going back to the qualities that I love in Abby, is she is not afraid to say what's what. When something is not jiving right, she's not one of those that is just going to allow us to brush it under the rug. Mm-hmm. If something's not right, it's brought up and discussed right there, whether we want to discuss it at the time or not, because she knows that that's not my personality. So she is the one that brings that out and allows us to have mm-hmm. those tough talks and tough discussions and tough conversations when they're necessary. And that builds our relationship together.
I think one of the interesting things is so Optavia is a company I health coach for. It's changed our lives in a lot of ways. I'm sure we'll do a podcast on it sometime, but we lost 65 pounds each. That enriched our marriage more than you could believe. But it taught us both a mindset or I guess validated or confirmed in each of us a mindset of personal growth and striving for more. And that doesn't just mean like more money or more things or more happiness, whatever, but just always wanting to be the best version of yourself in your physical body, in your spiritual, mental, everything. And I think because we both have a growth mindset, neither of us are comfortable surviving. And when we've talked about this, a lot of times football season is survival mode. This last year of adoption and new baby and all the things, like it has been survival mode. And I think it can be, mm-hmm. can churn in you a little bit and be uncomfortable to not be thriving. But I think that one of the best pieces of advice I could say is like, get on the same level as your spouse with your hopes and your dreams and your desires and your tenacity to put in the work to make improvements.
All right, number 9.
I don't have my glasses on.
I'll read it. What advice would you give to other families who may be considering a similar coaching career path? Before you get married, if you're already in the profession, date through a season. Make sure that you are in a relationship through a football season so that your spouse or significant other really understands the ins and outs and the time requirements of football season.
I would say go all in. Like, as hard as it can be and as frustrating as it can be for the wife and the mom during football season, just be there and be present and be involved. And like there is no place in the world I would rather be on a Friday night than under the lights with our boys. And I think when it becomes a family affair and it becomes something you're all passionate about and you can work towards it together, that makes the season so much more tolerable. Like, I don't know. I mean, when our daughter was sick last season and I had to miss a couple of games, it was a hard season for me because it felt like all the work, that time and away and all of that had gone into it, like I didn't get to see the joy of it and the fruition of it. And I would also just say to maybe, and this is probably something we could have done better, like to set the boundaries as a spouse, like sit down together before and set the boundaries and say, okay, here's what I'm going to need from you this season. And to just be clear on those, because even though his job takes the front seat this time of year, like we still have needs as a wife and as kids. And so I think just clearly communicating those things and like divvying up like household chores and different things like that, just to have clear boundaries can save some fights.
And I think from a coach perspective, one, go find and work for a truly godly family man.
Yep.
because there's a lot of coaches in this profession who, in my opinion, don't have their priorities where they need to be, and it can create for a hostile home life. I've never been on a staff like this, but I know guys who have been told by the head coach, all right, divorce your families, you're married to me till December. That's no way to go about this profession. That's bad for everybody involved. So when you're doing your homework on where you want to work, yes, it is always beneficial to your profession to be in a successful program, but I think even more beneficial to your personal life, to your family life, to your home life, is make sure that you are you're working for a head coach who has his priorities straight as far as family and as far as faith and as far as really having a heart for kids.
And I think as a family and a wife, when you can see their job as not just a job but a ministry, and realize that it's not all about wins and losses. Sure, there's a lot of stock put into that, especially in this profession that can change so quickly. But just knowing that your husband's out there trying to create like men of character and show them what it is to be a father and a husband and build integrity, it makes it a little easier to see that it truly is a worthwhile calling. And that's what it is. It's a calling, and it's not only a calling on you, it's a calling on the whole family. Mm-hmm. All right, last question, right?
Last one. All right, in your view, what makes a successful and fulfilling long-term relationship, and how do you both work towards achieving that?
We kind of touched on this a little bit
I think this whole podcast kind of answers that, and I think it just goes back to one word that Abby said, is being selfless. Mm-hmm. It's really working to make the other happy, and not being scared to have hard conversations.
Communication.
You can't both be scared to start the conversation. One of you in the relationship needs to be the one to start the conversations, and then once it gets started, you really need to work together to come to an amicable solution, and so that you don't ever go to bed angry.
And I mean, I think the number one most important thing is just having a firm foundation. We as humans are sinful. Jesus died on the cross for that, and he blessed us in this marriage. And if we can lean on him and include him in this marriage, I think that's your number one key to success. And then, like Brenton said, being selfless. A little counseling never hurt, right? Don't wait till there's a problem to fix it. We've been to counseling together some. I've been going, and it's nice just to have someone to share thoughts with and bounce ideas off of. And
I know it's supposed to be taboo. Promise you, you'll benefit from it.
Yeah, and just open lines of communication and being honest with what you want and need. And just, acting in love as much as possible, I think is our best advice. And you guys, we don't have it perfect. But
no, we don't.
We might not be rich in money, but we're rich in love. And we say that all the time. I wouldn't trade our relationship or our family for the world. So.
And don't think we have it all together. We're a Hot Mess Express over here.
Anyone that knows us, the neighbors can tell you we yell.
I'm a football coach. I always yell.
We usually arrive somewhere with one kid that doesn't have shoes on, and it's not him.
Or mismatching shoes or terribly mismatching clothes. That's usually my fault.
Yeah, sometimes when he gets the boys dressed, they come off the bus. I'm like, what are you wearing?
I was like, I just told him to get dressed. They just picked something out and put it on. I wasn't going to complain.
But yeah, so that's kind of what our goal is for this podcast, is just to share like life, love, what we do as a big family and a coaching family, and
funny stories, and we are very we're very rooted in our faith. So you're going to get a little preaching, a little Jesus.
Probably get some sparkles. Sparkles
yes.
will probably be the butt of some of our funny stories. You want to share the story from this week?
Which one?
The hamburger.
Hamburger.
There's two. He can share both of them, really. They're disgusting, both of them.
So on Friday nights after home games, we invite all the coaches over for some fellowship and kind of wind down after the game, kind of little camaraderie, little staff bonding.
There's always food involved.
And, we had a tailgate before the game that had hamburgers, where there was some left over at the tailgate was done. So one of the coaches grabbed them and brought them over for us to eat as we were sitting and hanging out and enjoying ourselves. And at the end of the night, everybody takes off.
It was like 1:30. We went to bed.
Yeah, everything was good. And I think it was, I cleaned everything up, and I left the trash bag on the ground with all the trash in it, including the hamburgers.
The foil-wrapped hamburgers.
Like
8 of them.
And so we wake up the next day, and Sparkles has helped herself to all of the leftover food.
Which we saw the wrappers on the floor, so we thought she just ate
them,
eight hamburgers.
whatever it was.
She's
Okay,
going to be in her
so-
kennel, so we're not cleaning up poop all day.
Yep, and go on Sunday. Okay, we get up Monday. We're getting ready for school, and I'm digging through a clothes hamper looking for a pair of shorts, and I'm picked this thing up, and it was a hamburger. She had buried a hamburger.
Same morning, we still have 6 missing hamburgers because the same morning I'm digging through the bottom of my closet trying to find my shoes, and under like several layers of clothes is another half-eaten hamburger.
So there's no telling where
I don't want to know. Like, we need to like clean out under all the beds.
the other hamburgers
Holy
are.
cow, there are 6 missing hamburgers. Anyways, and then like even grosser, last night, the baby's been on a 4-month sleep regression, so he's waking up like every 2 nights. So 2 nights ago, he's waking up like every 2 hours, and I wake up and I feel like wet on me, and I like am yelling across the bed at him like, "What is this?" The dog had gotten into the trash can and eaten about a gallon of mac and cheese that had been thrown away, and it regurgitated it all over me,
all over
and our bed,
and the bed.
So we had to change the sheets in the middle of the night because the dog got sick. Needless to say, she's going to sleep in her kennel for the next foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Can't have free reign of the house. But
no, she cannot.
Anyways, Sparkle's the spaz dog, all our kids, our crazy life. We're here for it.
All right.
Thanks, guys.